Hey guys, welcome to a flyby with Joe and myself and Brian. And if you tune in not to a flyby, it's similar to a regular episode of Flyover State of Film, except there's no topics, and we're just talking about two films or a franchise, and we kind of try to pair them together. So Brian and I have decided let's talk Rambo, more importantly, First Blood and Last Blood 2, and then Last Blood, and we'll talk franchise a bit in between. Um, how's
Hey,
it
it's
going, Brian?
baggage. You can't sorry, First Blood. This is your cross to bear now.
Yeah. So,
We're gonna talk about
uh,
your sequels. That's how it goes.
yeah. So before we begin, we just want to lead off like obviously, like I have full respect for military and everything like that, but this is also a podcast to have fun. So what's said is said, and don't treat our opinions as if they're someone you should listen to. Um,
Also, do some research maybe if you want to find out about the military industrial complex or what America has done around the world, then maybe just look
or
into it.
like,
Don't get mad
or,
at us.
or
If
like
you
how
hear
we
something that
treated our,
hurts your feelings, just
or
go.
like
Just
how we
read.
treated our vets for like the longest fucking time and still
Yeah,
do. Yeah. Okay.
absolutely. There's a
So,
little bit of there's both sides. There's to get into it a little bit even here at the
mhm.
top in First Blood itself, there's a little bit of both. There's the actual legitimate way that vets are neglected and kind of and stuff by our government, but then there's also this kind of thing like Rambo's talking about vets being spit on, and that's one of those things that's kind of like a almost like an urban legend that didn't really happen. Like everything,
See,
every time you try to track down a story of that vets being spit on at the airport or something,
see,
it's always a friend of a friend, and there's no
that's funny.
actual documentation of it. I think
I
that's one
didn't
of
know
those things
that.
that's so there's a balance to be struck with even with stuff like
'Cause
that.
I've always been told that those stories of, but you looking back, I was like, yeah, there's never like evidence of that.
No, and it's one of those things that would be a really big deal if if that was really happening with the kind of regularity that they try to portray, that
Well,
somebody would have captured it and we would know.
I
You know what I
think
mean? There'd be
I think a lot
a
of that
single
also.
photo or a single video. They have video of fucking photos of the kids in Kent St. getting murdered. They would have this
I think a lot of that comes from, and obviously, so I'm not an expert on Vietnam, of like the cameras pointed at what like military men were doing, and like voices like Jane Fonda who were so aggressive at that time, and like they did have that tone that wasn't so like lightly handed to them, and that's probably where a lot of that urban legend
Well,
comes
not
from.
only that, you don't forget that propaganda. It's not like propaganda didn't exist, and there weren't people who were trying to twist shit up, and there were people protesting the war justly, and so of
Yeah, I've
course
seen
there's
Forrest
people
Gump.
who with an
I've seen
invested
Forrest
interest
Gump.
in making those people look bad and spreading those stories and telling, just like there would be now, just like there
Mhm.
are now. There's people
Yeah,
whose
it's
job is to lie to people and get them worked up, and there was that too. But
yeah. So
um,
anyway, so about
definitely though,
Rambo itself. So we just wanted to
yes.
get that kind of out of the way.
Yeah. Of course, we
'Cause
all appreciate what veterans do. I can't even imagine volunteering to go to war. You
no,
fucking
fuck
kidding
that.
me? Oh, no way.
Oh
I'm a
God, no.
coward, total coward.
Yeah, me too. We're talking movies on a podcast.
Right.
I just like I said, we wanted to get that out of the way. Um, but so for this myself, I've really been familiar with First Blood, and that's it. I mean, I've seen like two and three here and there through my life. I saw Rambo, John Rambo. I think yeah, it was just called
Just
Rambo in
Rambo,
the
because this is when he came back. This is right after Rocky
Rocky
Balboa. So this was
Balboa
his first
2008.
big comeback.
I saw
You
that
know.
in theaters, and then today for the first time I watched Last Blood is the one we're
Oh,
pairing
you
with it.
hadn't seen Last Blood before this?
I had started it several times.
I know that because I was using your Amazon login to watch it, and it was like 10 minutes in. I was like,
Well,
"Oh, I have to restart this from the beginning." I
yeah,
didn't
I
realize, but you
started.
were not very far into the movie. You were
I
just at the point where the girl's dad tells her that he never wanted her.
I'm pretty sure each time I tried watching it, and which may have been twice, it was like late night or drunk, so I
Yeah.
fell immediately asleep. So anyway, what I've been tweeting about in love is First Blood is it's an action drama full force. It would be considered an amazing Vietnam movie if it didn't have its sequels. And what I mean by that is pop culture sat like in parodies, and rightly so and everything, took what Stallone decided to do with two and three, and just like said, okay, this is the retool. Like,
Right.
and
This
watching
is what
those,
Ram in pop culture, that's what Rambo is. Like
like
that's
she
what they
doesn't shoot,
latched onto.
she
And
doesn't.
it makes sense because it's the bigger, more flashy kind of, you know what I mean? It's all the iconic stuff. It's shot like a Rocky movie. You know what I mean? It's more of a power fantasy than the first one. The first one
And
is like, and I don't know, you have to imagine that to some extent Stallone did this on purpose, right? Like First Blood's a book. It's been out like 10 years or
no, at
so when
one
the
point
movie
he did it
comes
on
out.
purpose.
So it's based on a book. So he kind of like adapts this book into a sort of prestige action drama,
It had
which is
like
very good,
18.
very well received.
It had like
And
18
then he
scripts.
pivots, but see like what he this takes what he did with Rocky. Like Rocky was like a prestige
Yeah,
drama. And then over the course
one
of
best picture.
a couple sequels, he got to Rocky 4. But the thing is, he already knew where he wanted to get to with Rambo,
Yeah,
with First Blood Part 2. So he jumped straight to Rocky 4. Literally, Rocky 4 and Rambo come out the same year,
I was looking
and
at
like
that.
he
Rocky
jumped. So he just
2.
like he didn't give us the slow build that we got with Rocky. He just went straight from okay, you bought me as this prestige drama, boom, now it's a pro
Rocky.
America
I'm sorry.
jingoistic. You refight the
Rambo.
Vietnam War.
Rambo 2 is so Rocky 4 down to like the like anti-technology
Right, right,
metaphor,
where
not
he
even
has to
metaphor,
like
just
go
like plot
predator
line.
mode on him and stuff.
And like in Rock, and I keep saying Rocky now because it's Rocky. In Rambo
Yeah.
2, it is so fucking absurd. Like each time it's absurd in 2 and 3, but in 2 where they're like, you went to prison for your actions in the first one, but we're gonna get you out because you're the guy we want to come take pictures. Like,
We're just sending you there for recon, even though we have all these other dudes and
yeah.
surveillance.
And like I swear, like especially like when
But
we
nobody
get,
knows the jungle like you, Rambo.
it was so and that's why I say like they're fun. Like I can't say these aren't the
But
2
that's
and
the
3
thing, though.
aren't.
They're kind of not fun
They're
because
so
they
serious.
take themselves so seriously.
I mean,
Every
they're
one
fun
of
if
it's
you.
weird because even though only the first movie is actually serious, they all act like they have that same level of gravitas. They always treat Rambo with that same, never a joke, never a crack, never a smile. And I mean, I appreciate it to some extent because it would suck to have Rambo doing one-liners, but like not even anything around him. There's like no moment of levity, even
No,
when he like blows a man to smithereens.
well, that's my time. I at least think we hit Rambo. So I always want to say John Rambo. That's what I want to like refer to it as
Rambo's the fourth one. We're talking
the
about
fourth
four.
one, Rambo 4. At least when we get to there, like he comes back, he's trying to do his tour, and even Stallone had the sense to like I can't make it like Rocky Balboa. Like it's a different thing, but he clearly was trying to capitalize on like that being like a modest hit. At least he knew. At least they had aware enough to know like okay, we're gonna have serious, but it is over the top gore. Like people are here just to see me murder. Like this is
Well,
the
it's
point where he
like
just
they were like,
goes in
yes,
like,
we're gonna bring back Rambo, but also Eli Roth is a thing. So let's make these fucking disgusting splatter
and he
movies.
directed that one. Like it and he was a big fan of the movie Dexter, the show Dexter, because Julie Benz is in it, and the dude who played Batista, God, what's his name? Either way, he's like what were the jungle they are in Peru or something
Yeah, yeah, I can't
like
remember.
one of
No,
the
it's
he's like the Civil War leader, right? He's that guy. So I remember at the time I saw that I was like, oh shit, I was such a fan of that show. Like when you're like more of a kid and you see people
oh,
you
sure, sure,
see
yeah.
in shows, like
Oh, I
oh this
always like when I watch a movie and you can tell that like there's a couple people from a show you like, and so you know that the casting person must have like done the show and then done the movie and like picked a
yeah.
couple choice spots out for people.
So that actually might be the like second-ish best Rambo movie. And that's saying a lot because that's how like baseline. But what I want to bring that up more is the DVD. So I have the collector's edition, and they have the trailers and before. The way they present that movie is by playing "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor,"
Oh, and yeah,
like the
yeah,
trailer. It's
absolutely.
just not a slow version. Like
It's the
they
full
got
on.
it's just like Freddy versus Jason. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Well,
And I was like,
also,
oh,
and like you cannot deny that this was our post 9/11, like our most patriotic. So like bringing back our all American hero John Rambo to like murder some brown people again. That like America was ready
that
for
you're
it.
not
Like,
connected to, and it's 7 years removed from 9/11, and so First Blood. I just talk about First
right.
Blood.
We just wanted to quickly at the top. We
Yeah,
just wanted to give you the trajectory. You got like legit
yeah,
drama,
and I'll pivot back to
crazy
the
80s action over the top nonsense, and then the last two, it's kind of like weirdly a mix of trying to go back to First Blood, but also weird 2000s splatter porn.
it's so because
And we're gonna talk about when we talk about Last Blood, maybe a little bit of racism again.
oh, I'm saving it. Because they literally like he literally in Rambo, it starts it off being like, if we're going in, I'm murdering. Like that's kind of like, and then finding quotes of like, doing a little research. I don't know the exact one. I guess John Rambo has a quote in that movie that refugees of that Civil War area connected with, or like freedom fighters did. So they
Oh,
started quoting that and became their motto. And Stallone was like, "That's the most proud I've ever been to be a filmmaker." And I was
that's
like,
awesome.
I want to be like Stallone. That movie had no message there. You had a
Yeah.
good time.
They just like the way you murdered the people that like you made a movie that's like murder porn for
You
them.
killed that. Kill,
They want to do that to their oppressors. They just
you
love that
killed.
shit.
I do appreciate in that movie enough, at least, that like there was like not the bias where like the Christian missionaries came in and like John Rambo like huffs it off. Is like, "Hey, you're full of shit."
Yeah,
Like he's just there. He'd follow me because he likes the girl.
of course.
Kind of
There's
like
always a girl. Not
uh,
in the first one, but not in
no,
First Blood. 'Cause First
so
Blood is pure. They wouldn't taint First Blood with that.
so Rambo one, which last First Blood. All it is, it's a real simple story. Stranger comes to town, is shunned away by the police. He's a shaggy, like long-haired military man,
Drifter.
drifter. Yeah, comes
Drifter.
into town. As we see, he's doing nothing. Brian Dennehy at his second to Tommy Boy best.
Well, it definitely is like the perfect quote unquote good man who like thinks he's doing the right thing for his town by harassing this poor vet. Like,
He'd literally be in the Trump administration.
oh, absolutely.
He'd be like, and people are like, he's a good guy. So Brian Dennehy there kicks him out. Obviously, John's fighting back. This movie is riddled with PTSD, not addressed at the time.
Yeah, there's I
That's
mean,
why I
it's an
always assumed
early
he started.
it's I would say for its era, it's probably better at acknowledging what PTSD is than some movies. Like then like a lot of movies treated it as shell shock, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It was just like
like
the crazy vet. But
like
like this movie actually
Apocalypse
like
Now, like
shows he's like dealing with trauma, you know? He's
yeah.
having
So
like flashbacks and
well,
shit.
it shows he goes into real like running through and treats it as that more probably not because he's trying to kill the cops, trying to survive, and it is lightly on that, right? Clearly, that's what's going on. It
Yeah.
wasn't as spoken then.
But I mean, like fully, like the cops in this town. This is like this is perfect movie for the ACAB era. If you're feeling like not enjoying the police, throw in First Blood, and they'll give you all the reason in the world. They full on torture John Rambo.
It's
Um,
anti Red Dawn.
I love his escape though. His fucking escape from from the
Hmm.
police station. He he beats the shit out of baby David Caruso first, but then I love his he elbows that guy in the chest and then pushes him out the window. That's a great move. I love the slide tackle and then like breaks the dude's nose with the elbow.
So
Oh,
just
so
pure
many good
fighting and not weaponry in the first one is awesome. And then he goes to the fucking woods and builds that trap that just goes through their ankles.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I love to. He gives them every opportunity. Like Brian Dennehy could back down at any time. There's like so many chances.
Hmm.
By the time you're talking about when he's setting the traps, that's like three or four. That's after they have the long ass car chase. He could have just stopped when he got away on the dirt bike, but no. Then the guy falls out of the helicopter, the biggest asshole of all, of course. So kind of like a manslaughter situation, I guess. I don't know. He could have very likely fallen out anyway. It
Yeah,
was,
he's
yeah.
less. He's more human in the first one because it's a serious movie than he becomes.
Oh yeah, like I
Like,
love the when he jumps off the cliff and he falls through the tree. That's brutal. That really looks like it hurts a lot.
yeah, I think he broke his nose on the first movie.
I believe that. I believe
Um,
shit.
so yeah, in the you go through that, and then the Colonel shows up, right? And he's like, you're
Rambo's
thinking of
so
like,
badass. He needs multiple hero qualifiers. Like they have to
yeah,
get us the facts and talk about what a badass he is. But then Troutman has to show up again and tell you again and be like, no, no, you
oh.
need to hear it from me.
So Troutman feels like, I don't know why I was thinking at this time, almost in every movie, but so in the first one, he feels like a figment of John Rambo's imagination. Like I'm just putting that conspiracy theory out there. Like he's
Troutman.
not
I
real.
don't know. In this one, I don't think you could say it in this one because he interacts with a lot of people.
No, I know. It
Like
just
he's always interacting with Dennehy and all the other cops in this one. But I could see it in the sequels because he's just kind of like in the he comes to Rambo at the prison, but like then it's what's his name?
it's
Who ends up being the villain in the second one, who's Duke Phillips' son,
the
critic.
Russian dude.
No, no, I'm talking about the guy, the American guy. Shit, Charles Napier. It's Charles Napier
Yes, yes.
who's in the who is like his point man on the second one and stuff. So anyway,
So either
that's
way,
interesting though. I'll entertain it.
yeah, it's different. It's so
Or we
you
can
really
talk about
are.
the original ending of First Blood, and maybe all the sequels are just Jacob's Ladder situation.
It's a Jacob's Ladder scenario, 100%. No, so getting there to me, that you're really building to that fucking Stallone monologue, which I remember when I was like 12 or 13, I saw it. I laughed at it because of how Stallone talks.
Yeah, Mike.
And
I was watching this with Harrison. A shout out, Harrison.
yeah, what's up,
Um,
Harrison?
and and he couldn't understand him. I was like, I had to kind of go back and explain it and tell him
And
what he was talking about. But
rewatch.
me, I find it very emotional now. You
Yeah,
know,
me rewatching more like maybe I watched it when I was like 18 or so and like 20ish, but rewatching now, I'm like, he fucking that is a scene and a half of just like a man broken. And you've taught like you can imagine like you're out there, you're done to do this as like being like as a veteran, and then being like, well, I can't get shit, and I'm used to this lifestyle, and we had this thing promised, and I'm just talking about people who are dead,
yeah. I
and I'm
mean,
probably 24. I don't
and
know how old
like you got to respect an action movie. Definitely the sequels wouldn't do this, but that ends basically with your hero weeping in the arms of another man, like just
yeah,
broken and crying. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
that's not how your
So
average '80s action movie was ending.
so the alternative.
Although, to be fair, and Last Blood ends like this, you could have a man just staring off into the middle distance covered in dirt and blood. That was a very big, that's big for endings in the '80s.
It's still
Predator,
big,
you know.
still big endings. But you have the alternative ending. If anyone doesn't know, is Rambo dies in gunfire from the police trying to shoot the police.
In that ending, does Dennehy die also?
That's who he's going after. But I honestly didn't watch the alternate
Because he
take.
almost kills. I just, I just wondered because he almost kills Brian Dennehy and Troutman stops him. I wondered if in that ending they both die in a shootout because I could see that being, excuse me, I could see that being the ending to this movie where like both of the like they both took it too far. Dennehy
Well,
pushed, and then when Rambo pushed back, you just have this collision, and it's like has to end in their mutual destruction. I could see that being an ending that works for this.
yeah, what I find funny is doing a bit of reading is finding out that the writer of the book, Rambo's written as a straight up sociopath, right? And in the movie, he didn't want him to have this like softer side or be
He's
sympathetic,
supposed to
and
be
that
like
was
basically trained to a machine. He's basically
yeah,
supposed to have all the humanity sucked out of him by his training, and he's been this
and
killing machine in Vietnam, and now he's back in the world.
yeah, and Stallone basically was like, no, no, no. By the time he got his hands on the script, was like, let's retool it, let's have it more sympathetic,
Well,
and
plus
you
Stallone
like,
knows his own strengths. I mean, he was
mhm,
Rocky. He knows that his fucking home run line drive is fucking tough,
not
but also with a soft side. You know what I
not
mean? Like,
Rhinestone, not Rhinestone,
nah, well, we can't. They can't all be hits.
but you're right. So he played to his strengths. This was the first, I believe, financially successful Stallone movie since Rocky, actually. That wasn't a Rocky. Apparently, none of his other ones were hitting. But one thing I wanted to note, because we were talking about the sequels and stuff. So over the years, because of my love of bad movies, I watched so many like canon films,
Sure.
right? The sequels, the two and three of the '80s, feel so much like slightly better canon films.
That's what Canon was ripping
That's what they
off.
were. Yeah, I know, but there was just such this familiarity in there. I'm like, holy shit! Like, just like
Oh yeah, I
slow
mean, like
couple
Rambo,
action
and that's
bits.
another thing. It's not just the parodies that we talked about, but like Rambo legitimately was the template for action in the '80s. Even the beginning of Predator feels like a Rambo movie. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like, and that's you don't think of it like that, but it does. It plays
it
in that
does
same way. It's
that.
basically a movie where six Rambos are out there in the fucking bush together,
I
getting
mean,
killed by an alien.
even the other Stallone movie, like Cobra, I think it's directed by the guy who made two.
Oh, is
It
it?
feels so similar.
That George B. Cosmatos, the director of Tombstone?
I think you might be right. Either
I
two,
probably am.
one of them, two or three. I don't remember the names. They, except for Stallone doing
I
Rambo, they
love I love Cobra. Cobra is not a good movie, but it's
it's
a
fun,
great movie to
guys.
watch. It's very fun.
That's like
It's
how I
like
love
it's
Over the Top.
literally Stallone wanted to make a Dirty Harry. Like it's his Dirty Harry movie where he's the tough bad cop and literally the killer is like Zodiac kind of, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
so it's your thing you mentioned about that and the character, right? So we have First Blood, and he made it into his another Rocky franchise, right? Like that's all he did.
like I said, he just skipped doing Rocky
Skip
2 and 3 and jumped straight to Rocky 4. Rambo 2
without
is
any of the
Rocky 4.
development. Uh the problem with Rambo, a character like Rambo, is it's not a sports story. You don't just like you're going on another thing, and his war adventures aren't just I'm going to because that's how Stallone sees them. He sees like he could do another adventure, right? He didn't want Rambo to be the last one. That's why we have Last Blood. He was like, I want another adventure, and that's where it's like, I don't know if you could keep coming back like you did in the sports movies and then hitting as well.
Well, they're definitely it just depends on how you like he's definitely playing to the like pro America kind of like the
He always
Rambo
has.
2 is basically him going back and righting the wrongs of Vietnam, winning Vietnam War and setting loose prisoners that may or may not
Yeah,
have existed. Then in 3 it's
going
all
to
about
Afghanistan
defeating the Russians
and
and then
fighting the Afghanis, but getting caught
right.
in there. Yeah, you're
And this one and then Last Blood he's doing our border thing. He's doing the war on drugs and
which
terror and
I
human
so
trafficking.
let's go right into Last Blood. I actually give him a slight tip of the hat, where his fight with the cartel wasn't as I and I mean it's still pretty heavy handed, but as heavy handed as the trailers thought. I was like, man,
Right.
I
I
thought it was
actually
going to
that's kind of
happen
where and
in
I
his
kind of felt
Arizona
the same
town.
way on this one. I feel like it's not that it's not there. There's definitely justifiable criticism for this movie. There's no way that you could just be like, "Oh, this is totally fine." But I think it looked worse by the trailers than it actually is. It's not the bar I was using was the Sicario sequel where like Sicario is this really
Skip that.
smart, intense movie about and like really nuanced border dynamics and shit going on. And then the sequel they were like what if drug cartels are sneaking terrorists into America? And it just
Well,
feels
that's what I
very
thought
like
this was going to be.
let's turn this into an action franchise and like
I
this
thought this was going to be the
this wasn't as bad as that.
MS-13.
I agree.
MS-13 is in my town, and I'm the one to take them out. That's
Right.
what I thought this was going to be. It
This
wasn't.
really didn't have
Although,
anything to do with like I would have expected them to like coming in this would have been a thing about like people are coming in from Mexico and doing wrong in America and it wasn't that. It was
so
something. It was
yeah,
like
no, I
I
thought
would
that was
expect it to be, but like I said, it's still not without. Not to say
well.
there's
Who
nothing to
I want to ask?
criticize.
I want to ask you. I'm not going to give you who I'm thinking. Who did you find to be the most like offensive, as a stereotype wise character that we come across in the movie? Because I have my pick.
Hmm. You know, like I wanna pick like somebody on the drug street, but I almost want to say the grandma.
Oh,
You know what
see,
I mean?
I didn't
Because
mind her.
she seems more like and not like offensive, but in that way of like oh, she's the good Mexicans. You know what I mean? And
So
then
my
like
pick,
she
so
represents
I
the
I
good
thought like
ones.
I actually liked I thought because I was pretty on board with this movie for its first like 20 minutes.
Mhm.
I was like, oh shit, like okay, like cool, like I'm on, like you're selling me, and then the movie happens. Um, but no, it was the friend that lives down in Mexico.
Oh yeah, I have that here. It's like she's the bad friend who's definitely super coded as gangsta. Like
Yeah, where I'm like, she didn't feel real, put it that way, like a
yeah,
real person who was like,
she felt like
I don't
somebody
care.
watched a movie about gangs from the '90s and then put
Yeah, it
her
was
in
like
it.
I was like, man, and I get that, like, at least reading, like, Stallone somewhat tries to pride
Also,
himself on,
not
like,
a lot of other
accuracy.
characters look like her. It's not like that's the style of the area she's in. I
No,
don't see anyone else dressed like that.
she's
She
dressed
looks like
like
Conan from WCW in the
I was to say,
90s.
she's like 90s goth. Like, it just didn't make sense. That was the one, and I know she was the catalyst to, like, everything happening, but
That was
either
the thing where it's like we were kind of letting it off the hook a little bit, but also everything aside from the grandma, um, everyone it's like everyone the girl meets when she goes down to Mexico, ill advised by the way. Of course, Rambo tells her not to go. This is very Laurie
and she
Strode and
shouldn't
Halloween.
have gone. Usually in those situations, like in a movie, when you're like, "Don't go," the powers are like, and you know it's gonna end bad, like in a horror movie. You
Yeah.
feel somewhat for the character of like, yeah, like let her do what she wants. Like she should go to Europe to like go to like take like this
Right,
movie is
Taken. This made
taken.
me think of Taken. Well, but it made me think of that and the new Halloween because it's like the overprotective, bordering on like abusive parent or guardian who then is proven right. You know what I mean? That's like the
Yeah.
ultimate white boomer fantasy, right? Where you tell your kids to stay away from the brown people because they might hurt you, and then they actually do, and you have to go save them instead of what really happens, which is where you have to eat to Thanksgiving by yourself now.
This is still more tasteful than Eli Roth's Death Wish.
Oh god, I would never even subject myself to that.
I believe it's on Prime, just like this. So anyway, so yeah, but this movie to me was like it's not good. I mean, it's not as bad as people think.
Right,
Put it
I think
that
it's
way,
right
but
in there. It's probably a little worse than Rambo, the 4th one. It's probably still maybe better than 2 and 3, I don't know, like,
I like my ranking of them is like
you almost have to take
it's thinking
First
about
Blood
like
out of it. It's almost like it's not
yeah,
hard
so it's always gonna be
can't even
First Blood,
rank
and
it.
I think it goes like First Blood, Rambo, Rambo 3, Last Stand, like the
Last
Last
Blood and
Blood,
then
and then
2.
Rambo 2,
I can
and
see
like
that.
they could all be changed around, to be honest. So I'm not there
There's
yet. I want
stuff
to
to
talk more
like in
about this
this
movie.
one. I
There's stuff
started
to like.
I started out thinking that like as I was watching it and I'm thinking back to Rambo, I was like, okay, they kind of end Rambo in a that could have been the end of Rambo's arc. Like at the beginning of First Blood, he tries to come home, it doesn't work out. He's basically forced back into the jungle. He's like back into the world he knows. He kind of completes his cycle and then he does finally get to come home. So you could have ended with Rambo 4. So I kind of came into this one thinking like this felt less natural to start with. Like, why do we have to get him going again?
And he also had this whole his like from Rambo. I mean, yeah, from Rambo, he has this whole history. So by the time we have this one, it's like, well, no, I've already known he's gone through a war, even as old, like an old guy. So you tell me when he came back to America, like he re-met, like just like became like a father figure to someone, and they were like,
You get the
when like
impression
the
he
grant,
showed up right around the time
she
that
was
the
like,
dad left because
yeah,
they
because
clearly have met before.
well, no, they did. The grandma says you don't know how many times John had to pull him off your mother.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay.
So like we've gotten this thing that Rambo has was there for the cancer treatments of this guy. And I like the by the way, they had me liking the young girl they had to play the his daughter type. Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like was like, "Oh, like you're a sweet girl." Like I know I'm going to feel this. I wish personally this was more either two movies. and it kind of is a hybrid of them, but not but taking the worst parts of it. I wish they either went the John Wick route, where they got her like just spoiler being murdered, like dying the way she did, probably the worst way you could die. Um, like early, like give me like a 10-minute arc of this, like do everything you need to
Do that
do,
at the
and
top.
then
Don't stretch it out for the first hour.
let him be Rambo, aka John Wick, and just like go fucking ham on the guys who did it,
Yeah,
or literally just remake Taken again because that's what they kind of did.
yeah.
But
That's
except they killed her midway through, brought him back to like then set them up to come to him. Like it was just
well,
very
okay. I like where you're going, but let me. I was thinking about this too, and I was like, there's actually things in this that I really like that they chose to do. Um, First, I like she gets. I don't even know if we really. She goes to Mexico to find her real dad. It doesn't work out. The guy's a dick, and then her friend sells her out, and she basically gets human trafficked. So he goes down there to find her, and he's doing his Rambo thing. He's being a tough guy, and it's working out pretty good. But I like when he first is lurking around and they spot him. He's not in his element. He's not in the jungle
yeah.
anymore. And I love that they beat him up. I love they fuck him up. Although big plot point in the movie, they would never have let him live. Never
No,
have
I would
let
say
him
they would
live.
have
He'd be
straight up
dead, dead, dead.
murdered him.
Everything about him telling her how he's gonna go worse on her would have still happened, but then they would have killed him. Like you get to die knowing that.
They wouldn't have
But
given him full mark.
I like that I mean, I don't like it because it's cruel and it's hurtful, but I like that his interference does make things worse for her. It reminds me of that Kevin Bacon movie Death Sentence. The idea that just like violence begets violence, and the spiral of like the more you bring to this, the worse it's going to get. This is never going to end well. There's never going to be a happy ending because it's all based out of this
Because
like
you came here to
poison.
do this,
Well, right,
and
like
you're right.
it's
She
all
wouldn't have been.
stems from poison, so it's never going to be good. It's always going to go bad. And I
She
like that
wouldn't
the
have.
movie had the balls to pull the trigger on killing the girl and really like there's been some
Track
movies that I thought
marks.
like I think Man on Fire missed the boat to let Dakota Fanning stay dead and like make that movie felt like they kind of pulled the nosedive up at the end. I mean, I know it's dark and everything, but like I just feel like a really hard revenge movie like that should
I'll
have
tell you
that kind
what
of
got
edge,
me
you know?
in this with her. They were looking the way they had her. Not that I mean the track marks were shocking. Is that's just like a very like it's the way they chapped her lips up.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
once
one
they
of my
carved up her face too, they're not gonna let her like. There's never gonna be a scene later in the movie where she's okay and happy, but she's got that huge fucking scar on her face. You knew they were gonna kill her as soon as they put that fucking
because I'm
mark on her.
watching the movie, I'm watching it, and he's driving her. I'm going, get to a hospital, John. Get to a
Yeah,
hospital. Don't bring her home.
yeah. There's
Um,
hospital in Mexico's, bro.
like they would take care of her. Um,
Um,
but I wonder piece. So Rambo's just when he's doing his killing, and this movie because I love the underrated Doors song they use, the 5 to 1. I thought it
oh man,
so
yeah, we
well.
haven't. Oh, I was gonna say we haven't gotten that far yet, but I love when
Oh,
he
I'm
breaks
sorry.
the dorks out. That's good stuff.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I thought this movie really struck into the nihilism of First Blood. Like all his like heroic attempts basically fail. Like he's trying to save those girls at the whorehouse when he's killing all those dudes, and they won't go because they're afraid to get killed. So like, and like we already talked about, he gets his ass
skull.
beat when he first goes after her. But I he oh sorry this part you talked about. I wanted to get into because he went to go get her. She dies. He comes back. It was at this point in the movie that I saw something that gave me some thoughts. John Rambo drives up to a fence, just a flimsy fence with a sign on it that's like, "Hey, don't cross this. This is the border." He kind of
Yep.
stops and looks at it because he's coming back from Mexico into America. He kind of stops and like sneers at it and then runs it over, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that got me thinking, what is this movie trying to say about border stuff? Because the girl goes into Mexico, no problem. There's no like her leaving to go in.
Yeah.
John
It seems
follows
like
her to
border.
Mexico,
It's a
no
border
problem.
town too.
Right. So they're passing into Mexico, no sweat. And then when he comes back, he like crosses nondescriptly because he's got a dead body with him, so he's probably trying to hide. He doesn't want people to no questions asked or whatever. But it got me thinking, like, so what's this movie saying about the border? Is like him the way he sneers at the fence, is that him saying like look how weak our border is, or is it saying like the border's useless anyway. It's just a fence. It's nothing. Anybody can go through it. And then later, when the bad guys come to hunt him down, they show the big Trump wall, the bars, the fancy
Mhm.
wall. They don't acknowledge it at all. Literally, they instantly go under it into like a secret place where their
I think
gear is already all stored in
I think that's
America. The America
saying
side is where their gear
I
is, by the
think
way.
and like Stallone, which you're allowed to be. Stallone's a Republican, but I think actually that's Stallone saying that's the borders are stupid.
Yeah,
The the
well
walls are
then
stupid.
like I said, I
Because I
couldn't
think
decide. But then when they showed the big fancy Trump hole, and then it was totally like ignored. It didn't. It posed no threat to them. They
yeah, I
didn't even
think if it was
acknowledge it.
pro,
I was like, so what's that saying?
no,
Hey,
I think if because you're bringing that up, I didn't even notice it. If it was pro that, it would have been acknowledged as fuck, we can't go through, and he would have given directions of like, you have to go through this border part to get to my house.
there's like a big of them found it, right?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
we're in a break.
Right? If the movie was pro border wall, making like border wall something, right? I don't know. It just
I
came to me when I was watching it. It's a movie
yes.
about, and they do a ton of border hopping. He comes back with her dead body, sends the grandma away, buries her, sets all his traps, then goes back into Mexico to like tell the tell to talk to the uh, reporter lady, killed brother who scarred him and scarred her and scarred the girl, and then goes back again, and those guys come back. Like, there's like multiple border jumps, no problem. There's like never a hint that it's our
Sorry,
connection might be bad.
yeah, I've heard what
Okay.
we're
Oh my
better.
gosh, people, did they get my rant?
I got some of your rant. I don't know what they got. I don't know what we got. I was trying to like just let it ride through. We seem good now.
Okay, I think we're all right.
So, but you're
If
right.
they
Like,
didn't hear it all, it's fine. It probably doesn't.
no,
It's
but
probably
I
meaningless
just to recap,
anyway.
like, it's such a good note about this though, because it's clearly like all these movies, like, I think like we said, we take one out of the equation, but when they became popcorn flicks, they were all at least trying to say something in their own right. Like, he wasn't just making action films. Frozen again.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you look at the history of the movies, you would expect them to be very kind of like, to kind of take. Oh, we're gonna have to hack some out here. We
Yeah,
lose it again. I've still got poor connection again. Might be on my side. It was fine for a minute. Now
probably
it's
on my side.
oh no. Poor TJ is actually gonna have to listen to this thing and cut this crap out.
I think he's only going to do the 5 minute rule for this, and
All right. Do we think we're back?
yeah, I think we're back. And I think I really only have a few more kind of just
Well, yeah,
notes on
we're kind of
it.
getting into the finale of Last Blood. Like we said, he goes back over, he kills one of the main bad guys, so the other bad guy will come. Um, I did think it was weird that they brought so many guys to kill him. Like, it felt like one of those things where the writer knows too much and he's like kind of projecting what he knows into the characters. Because like we know Rambo's a badass, and we know as we're watching the movie, and the writer knows that he has all these crazy traps set and he's been getting the place ready. But all the guy knows is that his brother got killed by one crazy dude. So
Yeah, bring me like
fair. I
five
mean, you take
guys.
like 5 or 6 of your best guys, but you don't take like 7 truckloads of dudes after him. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not
I
saying you don't
think
go yourself and wear your tactical gear and look like a badass, but
I
I don't.
think
I still think he took too many men. It wasn't realistic. It took me.
I
You
think
send 5 or 6 guys, Rambo kills them, and then you bring an army.
I think that's I well I think first of all it's a short movie.
Well, yeah, there's
So
not time for all that, and I'm glad. I'm glad. But I
and
was just watching all
but
those
I
dudes
think
roll
that
up
could
to
have
his
happened.
farm, and I'm like, damn, they take him serious as fuck.
And I mean, that's where this is definitely pulling from your John Wicks, right? Of like, here's your unlimited army. You're
Yeah,
gonna fight it off.
yeah. I liked. I thought it was weird. Like the tunnel thing is cool. It's a cool idea. It's weird. It's a weird way to like have John deal with his PTSD and is like dig these endless tunnels. Like it seemed like it would be triggering for him, more than it would be
Nah, he's
therapeutic.
still that. He's still forging
I like the
forging
forge.
metals.
I like he
That
had
was
his forge down there.
I
I
like the
like that he
letter
let the girl and
opener
her
part.
friends party down there. He's like, go party in the tunnels, man.
And even she was like, "You're weird. Don't join us."
Yeah, don't come down there, you weird him out. Um, but the tunnels, I mean, regardless of whatever you feel about their plot reason for being there, they make for a great final sequence. I mean, it's
Yeah,
excellent.
I'm not
They're
quite like
used
I don't
so
think
good. All his little traps are so great. I
I'm
love that, I love the Home Alones the fuck out of people, but like
so.
cuts off their
Uh,
whole legs and shit.
what I kind of want to leave this on is watching one like so we the pairing of this guys is 1 in 5,
Right.
and it really
Breath
like
of the Friend.
this. Yeah, so this if you did, let's say you did First Blood and there was only First Blood and it ends how it ends, doesn't end with the killing, and then no sequels exist, and you just say like Stallone made this movie maybe a hair differently, you know, 30 years later or so, when you're now seeing what old Rambo's up to, it pairs pretty well because you can kind of paint this picture of like what did this guy go through since that incident in town. Obviously, if you sit down and watch the whole franchise, you see a several lifetimes of adventure that no one human like. So, because I looked it up, his body count. I'm just going off of memory here. It's 552 people in the whole franchise, and a
Damn, that's a
lot of
lot.
that is from Rambo because he kills like
Yeah.
300 like Peruvians or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, he
So,
splatters people pretty bad in that one. They definitely keep up the level of violence when they finally get into it in the end. Like it's full. I mean, he's just cutting off heads and
when he chucks the head out
limbs,
the window,
blowing, ripping people apart.
when he chucks the head out of the window,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
I
like
like when he cuts the dude's heart out at the end. I was like, that's brutal as hell. We also didn't talk about the when he. I like when he punches
the
in the hole in the
collarbone,
guy and then reaches in with his finger and like breaks the bone. That's
the
grim.
collarbone.
Yeah, that
That
was
was
real
like
grim.
the most. That was you're looking at things you've never seen in a movie done.
Yeah,
That's one.
yeah, that's something I had never
Where
seen
he's like,
before. It
and
was
he's like,
pretty.
it's already breaking, and he's like, I'll break it off. And like, yeah, I like how they have the little to make the story work. You have a little MacGuffin of some gung ho reporter.
Yeah,
So anyway, it's a fun.
yeah, I had said that, well, and I'd said that I thought that you could have ended on 4, and that like his arc was that he came home and he finally got to do the thing. But I was thinking this feels like after finishing the whole movie, this does feel like like a better ending to First Blood, to what First Blood started. It's like darker and more nihilistic. It ends with him ready to die. It's not hopeful because
Well,
Rambo's
it's
not.
almost
First Blood's not hopeful. You know, he
it's almost one of
he just did his job and now he can rest. But it
it's.
feels that like
I
I
almost
was
want
like. I feel like this is an acceptable. It can. I hope it really is Last Blood. Please don't come back and do another one.
it should be just because this wasn't a financial hit.
Mhm.
Um, I almost want to see like if this was a trilogy and rewrite history a little bit. You have First Blood, then you have Rambo, but you have Rambo the way it is, the Civil War, but he's like maybe in his 40s doing that, and it's like in the mid 90s or like early 2000s, and then you have Last Blood come out when it comes out.
Explanation for why he's back in the country. Yeah, that'd be a bet.
You
That's
know,
fine. You could lose
like
2 and 3, and I wouldn't miss him.
like I'm saying, you see, like if you see 2 and 3, you don't see 2 and 3, and you just completely don't have him in his history. But oh hey, like every 15 years, I got this Rambo movie, and like he's just here. This is his story. Okay, like that makes more sense to me than like all right, John, we got to keep doing what we want to do because you're the Army's best tool we have.
Right?
And like, I don't know. So that would be my ideal. Obviously, it doesn't work as a trilogy like that because of when Rambo comes out.
Yeah. But,
Uh,
it's all right. It's fine. Like I said, I don't think the I don't think the sequels hurt the legacy that much. You know what I mean? I think it's still like First Blood is still a good movie.
the
It's
legacy, I think the legacy of Rambo is the pop culture of the character, not
right.
the movies.
Yeah.
It's it's the gun and the knife and the headband and the bow and arrow, right? Or the bow and
Yeah.
arrow, the knife, and the headband, and it's
Yeah, I guess it's
the
true. I guess you're
iconic.
probably right. It's like it's not even so much that the sequels hurt the legacy or don't. They are the legacy.
They are
Is
the
like what
legacy.
that's what people remember about Rambo. And I guess it is kind of unfortunate if you're a big fan of First Blood because I think
Like
First Blood is a legitimately really good movie and
like
maybe deserves to be regarded a little bit better. More like a Platoon,
like I think you talk to like some boomer or whatever, someone who grew up with Rambo, and you say, yeah, he doesn't use a bow and arrow in the first one, they'll fight you and be like, no, he definitely does.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he did because it's like the what's that called? The Mandela effect with
Yeah.
it's with
They
this
just remember Rambo with a bow and arrow because that's such an iconic image.
yeah. So like that, I think that's where I stand watching it. I said me and you both own them. I'm glad I have the little box set that was $10. Like it's nice to have. Maybe another 4 years I'll do a rewatch.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have rewatched First Blood kind of a lot. I really like
No, I've
First Blood.
seen First Blood
But I
enough.
definitely don't revisit the sequels nearly as often. And I don't feel the need because First Blood feels so different. It's
It's
not one of those
satisfying.
franchises. Sometimes you start a franchise and you're just like, well, I got to go through. Like when I watch the Rockies, I almost always watch them all. You know what I mean? But like when I watch First Blood, I'm just like, yep, I'm good. That's it. That's
And
all I
that's
needed.
because the first Rocky is a feel good movie. So you watch it and be like, I want to see more of this guy.
Rocky 3. Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
where it
good,
kicks in.
good. Now I'm gonna go do the Rockies. Good parent, but that's like, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of like very not similar, but like we always got to relate things to superhero movies. Um, it's kind of like honestly, like I could put in not Civil War, Winter Soldier, which I think is like really stands on its own, and I never feel the need to have to like finish the Cap series out of that, right? You always got to talk
No,
comic
because
book.
I love Civil War. I actually think Civil War is better than Winter Soldier. So if you want to have that argument, we can
For the
start a
next
whole
one.
new episode on that one.
It's
Check
for
us
the
out
next
next
one.
time.
No,
Have you ever seen two white guys talk about Marvel movies before? I bet you haven't.
you haven't. Listen to our new Flyover show. Two white guys in the MCU. Special guest Galaga guy. All right, Brian's freezing.
Finally, it'll be it's all too. Got in. That guy's probably $1 million a year doing conventions now, signing his name on copies
Great.
of the Avengers.
And copies of Galaga. All right, so I'm
All
good.
right, man. Well, I guess is that it?
That's it.
Should we tell people where to find us or whatever?
Yeah, so you could find me at Trendangle One or Flyover State of Film every episode, or Flybys, usually bi-weekly. Brian, where could people find you?
I think we got some news. I think we did pretty good. Oh, you can find ad release with my hot takes, red hot, so hot.
The hottest.
Orange Man bad, guys.
All right. Have a good night, guys.